Welcome back to the Working Faith podcast, where we take a spiritual approach to career success. I'm your host, Jalen Isley, and today we're talking about career advancement. I'm so excited to introduce Natalie Hodge. So Natalie is a writer, producer, speaker, and owner of Rudy's Girl Media, a Martinsville, Virginia-based multimedia production company. She's also the special projects coordinator for Ross Innovative Employment Solutions. And Natalie holds her bachelor's degree from Guilford College and a master's degree from Cornell University. So Natalie, welcome to the show. We're so happy to have you here.
Yay! Thank you so much, Jalen. I'm excited to be here. This is such an important topic, and I can't wait to dig in with you.
I can't either. So with that in mind, let's jump right into it. So I know that you identify as spiritual, and this show is all about leveraging spiritual principles of our faith to positively impact the workplace and grow our careers. So what are some of the core principles of your spiritual faith that resonate most with you, and how have they shaped, who you are today?
So I will start off by sharing that I grew up in a Baptist church. And so the foundation of who I am has come from that upbringing. And so our church was a very tight-knit community. And so there was a lot of support. There was a lot of support around education and career advancement in the church and how to be a professional. And so from a very early age, I mean, we were small and we were in presentations and, the Sunday school plays and all of these opportunities to be public speakers. And so that was really interesting. I didn't think about it until later, but I was trained in that space to get in front of people, to have relationship with people. It was a place of gratitude, a space where people were valued for their contributions. And so that laid the foundation. So as I moved into my adult life, all of that was there. I identify as spiritual now because my belief is that these traditions are available in a lot of different faiths. And I never want to have people think that what they grew up in or what they hold dear and true is somehow out of alignment. Because we all bring our special gifts, talents, beliefs into this beautiful salad bowl and create from that space. So that's
Mm.
really important for me to be people-centered in all things, for me to operate in a space that is as judgment-free as possible. We come into everything with our biases and our particular perspectives, but to just continue to allow for people to be themselves and operate within their gifts and talents. So that's kind of my outlook on it all.
Yeah, I think that's so important, especially when individuals are looking for the right career for them. Being able to leverage or lean into, everything that makes them uniquely who they are is so important. And so many people don't think about how their spirituality impacts their ability to show up and
Right.
really establish their professional brand. So I think that's amazing. And I agree 100%. Like so much of, I grew up Christian as well. So much of what I learned in the church and in that community, you can see expressed in all aspects of life, not even just, religious communities, but different cultures and different
Yes.
neighborhoods and even different employers, like you can see a lot of those principles showing up in all aspects of life. And so your comment on being people centered, I think is spot on because, we want people to feel comfortable knowing who they are and then expressing who they are. And that doesn't mean preaching in the break room. How you show up in a space is, important.
And that light exudes from you.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been the foundation for a lot of my success in the careers that I've had over the years,
Mm.
because I come into a space and people know that I have a welcoming spirit and we're going to engage in conversation and I'm going to care about you as a person. And so, therefore, what I bring to the table is going to be a reflection of our kind of collective dreams and goals within that workspace.
Hmm.
And so collaboration is one of my top qualities in a workspace. And in order to be collaborative, you really have to have relationship with people.
Hmm.
And to do that, I think you have to see them for who they are at their core, dismissing, not dismissing in the sense of disregarding trauma or disregarding ethnicity or disregarding some of those things that are kind of on the outside, the exterior that could block us, but getting to the root of who someone is.
Yeah,
And that creates just for a really dynamic experience in your work environment.
absolutely. And do you feel like you learned, some of those ideas around collaboration and seeing the person and connection? Do you feel like some of that came from your upbringing in your church or outside of that?
That was the beginning
Hmm.
for sure.
Yeah.
And then I went to Guilford College, which is a Quaker school
Hmm.
or a school that follows Quaker traditions.
Right.
So those traditions were not pushed on us. You could be absolutely anyone you wanted to be on campus, but those traditions were shared and had an impact on my worldview.
Hmm.
And it was very much a space of everyone has something important to say. Everyone has a space and place and should be valued for that. And there was a lot of teamwork, a lot of collaboration, a lot of group projects. And so you learn to value the contributions of everyone who came to the team for whatever they brought to that space.
Interesting.
And so I carried those values on when I graduated.
Got it. Okay. Good deal. That makes perfect sense. So talk to me a little bit more about career advancement. How have your spiritual beliefs influenced your approach to your own career advancement or helping others advance their careers?
So another big factor of my journey is that I moved around a lot. So after I left Guilford, I went to Cornell for graduate school, and then I moved to the Bay Area shortly thereafter after I got my master's degree, and then Detroit, then back to Cornell and worked there. And so this cycle continued of bouncing from place to place. In that process, I learned some very important tools around how to find opportunities and how to make the most of opportunities quickly. And because I developed that skill set in my travels, then I was able to translate that to support people in figuring that out for themselves. And so something that would have been seen as a career deficit became an advantage for supporting other people
Mm.
in their career transitions. And so very quickly for people that I worked with in different positions, I became the go-to when someone was applying for a promotion or they were going to be leaving that particular space and moving on to another career opportunity. And that's the coaching.
Mm.
That's how coaching began for me. And again, I would say all of that was rooted in being person-centered
Mm. Hmm.
and being able to make those genuine connections with the inner being
Right.
at the forefront. What I discovered in all of this is that a lot of people are making selections about where they want to be in their careers, where they want to be in life from a completely exterior kind of space. So, what does this job look like as opposed to what does this job feel like?
Mm.
I'm looking at a promotion from a perspective of more money, a better title, all of those trappings, as opposed to how does this work for who I am? How does this provide me with greater personal value? How does this support health and well-being? And so as I'm working with people on thinking about those transitions, I want to talk about how this is bringing value to my whole self, how this is a healthy choice as opposed to one that is just on the periphery.
Yeah, the concept of how does this job feel versus what does it do
Mhm.
for me? or, or am I even qualified for it? Like that, prioritizing how does the job feel for who you are as a person today, the season that you're in, what you are trying to share with the world. I think that's an interesting perspective. Is that something that you actively say to people who are trying to advance their careers? Like, how does that job feel to you?
Absolutely. The first point is you're interviewing the position as much as the company or organization is interviewing you.
Right.
You need to be asking questions to help bring understanding to how this will fit into your life and how this will create balance for you. So we start off all wrong when we talk about work-life
Mm,
balance because it starts off with work instead of life.
right.
So life has to come first. And when you bring your whole
Hmm.
self into a workspace, then automatically there will be success because you are bringing, 100% through the door in the morning, as opposed to,
Mm,
55% and an attitude.
right. Right.
So you are bringing appreciation through the door in the morning, as opposed to bringing resentment. And so, quite often, when I talk to people, and this has happened to me personally, I have pushed to advance in a space and been really focused on that advancement, and then got the promotion, received the reward, and been discontent and totally
Mm,
frustrated. Like, I did all of this work to get to this level and not feel good about it because I was operating from this space of it's time for me to have X, as opposed to thinking of my whole self. Where do I really need to focus my attention?
people don't talk about that often. There are a lot of people, including myself, where we have received promotions or not even just promotion, but sometimes it's a lateral career move, career opportunity. And we're like, man, what did I just get myself into? Like, this isn't for me. Or if it is for me, we need to make some adjustments because it's not flowing. The work life or life work is not flowing right now.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up because a lot of people don't even share when they get into a new role and it's not fitting who they are as a person or their lifestyle. So, when that happens, what do you do?
So there needs to be some deep meditation and a quiet time where you start to process what is it that I really want. So you ask the question, you put the prayer out there, and then you get quiet. So here's the trick to this. We're praying all day. Please let this red light change to green because I'm about to be late for this appointment. Uh, you know, let that check clear so that this bill can get paid. So we're constantly praying. We're constantly asking for things to happen on our behalf. But the amount of time that we are listening for the response is actually small. And when we're
Hmm,
not listening, we can't receive the answer. So the answer is
right.
there. And so we just have to get into a space of quiet. Daily meditation is really important for this. So when you're experiencing this moment of like, oh no, I'm in this position and I don't love it, and I thought that I would, get really quiet. Ask the question, why is this not gelling with who I am? Get quiet, continue on, but just get quiet so that you can get that understanding. And it could be something really
Hmm,
resolvable. Like, for example, I'm in this special projects coordinator position and I have my own business. And so I was very transparent with the leadership in the company that I have this business and this is really important to who I am. And they've been supportive of that. As my business has grown and my time has become stretched, I've shared that feedback. And they have been very amenable to me changing hours, changing how I work, changing some responsibilities in order for me to have the time to do both. And sometimes we have to communicate what are the things that are important to us, not automatically say it is impossible for me to do both, but inquire, share who you are. I had already brought value to the company. So you can't come in day
Mm.
one starting to dictate, like, hey, I'm going to need to come in at 11 and leave at 2. Like, just back up. um,
Right.
so come in, bring value, bring your whole self to the space, and then be transparent about the things that you need. And some of these things are quickly resolvable. It does not require you to leave the position all the time. Sometimes there is an opportunity that is better for you, and you should transition to that when the time is appropriate. But it doesn't have to be like, I'm upset, peace, like dial
Right.
it down.
Right.
I'm just getting to a good space of really understanding what it is you need to be content.
Interesting. That wisdom is spot on. It doesn't always require you to leave a role. And I think that's part of the reason why people get a little bit apprehensive when they do feel that discontent, because they're like, what, do I need to quit? I can't quit. I have responsibilities. I have
My
this, I have that. And it's
benefits.
very stressful and right. Or my status or my exposure or, so many things come into play. And so I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad like this does not require you to leave the role, but something is off. And so take the time. You're an adult. You have the capacity, the capability, the understanding to sit down with yourself and gain that clarity. And if you need help, we've got Natalie there as a coach who you can go to get the clarity that you need. So I think that's really important. And sometimes it's coming in later. Sometimes it's just creating space for breakfast in the morning.
Right.
Like to feel the energy and kind of get yourself right or whatever it is. So I think that's
And
great.
this is the inner
Excellent
work.
advice.
The inner work is
Right.
understanding who you are and what you need, and not having this
Mm-hmm.
expectation, an unrealistic expectation that your supervisor or your leadership team at your organization is automatically going to know what makes you hum. They
What?
will not. Just like your partner will not. These things have to be communicated, but you have to understand
Right.
them first in order to be able to communicate them, which is why having that quiet time, having that moment to meditate and to recenter is so incredibly valuable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And something else you said, you already demonstrated your value to the organization. And so part of having that quiet time and understanding and knowing yourself is also understanding your strengths and how you demonstrate that value to the company on a consistent basis so that when you do have different needs that arise, because sometimes you might be fine in the beginning and then 2 months down the road, something shifts in your life and you need to make adjustments somehow, some way, but you know your strengths and you're able to consistently demonstrate that value to the organization. So when it's time for you to have that conversation with your supervisor or manager, or even just your colleagues
Mhm.
sometimes, you're able to confidently express what you need and how you'll still be able to deliver your end of the bargain.
Right. I think one fallacy that we have is that when we get into a position that things are going to be constant at some level, and it is so not true. Things are ever evolving with the position and with our own lives. So insert a child, a change in partner status. So someone comes into your life or someone leaves your life, an aging parent, a transition to a new home, or whatever that looks like.
Hmm.
Those things
Right.
change the dynamic of work. At the same time, a new project comes into the office, new people are hired, there's a layoff. Whatever is fluctuating in the office environment will also change the dynamic of that work. And so sometimes things are happening on both sides of your personal
Right.
coin. And that can feel really disconcerting. And you just have to be ever aware of what's in the bucket, for the day.
Yeah, very true. Very true. That actually leads me to my next topic about, spiritual health and well-being. We've got a lot of companies focused on employee wellness,
Mhm.
and spirituality is a core component of someone's wellness. So, are there specific practices you use to maintain your spiritual health and well-being?
Meditation is a big piece of it. Like I said,
Okay.
we're always naturally asking. Sometimes that asking can be more focused and prioritized because sometimes we can be asking for things that we don't even really need. But the
Mm,
meditation is a moment to just settle down, to even things out so that our approach to life is a little more intentional, a little more balanced.
mm,
Gratitude is also a really important part of my practice. And
mm.
sometimes when I'm feeling off kilter, I'll get into a really deep, like a really deep rabbit hole of a gratitude list. Like even thinking about, you mentioned breakfast. So here's this breakfast, this fresh fruit, these delicious eggs, this cup of orange juice, this cup of coffee, what expressing gratitude for not only that meal, but all of the hands that went into the
Mm,
preparation. The
mhm.
people who picked the oranges to make this juice, the people who
Right.
maintain the groves to make this juice. Like, and everybody is grateful for chickens now because of the price of eggs. So like please let the cost of eggs go down. But so
Please.
so getting into that space of understanding that my having this one meal has come as a result of so many
Mm,
hands, so many collaborative efforts. And you could get into the weeds of who paved the roads for the trucks to come in.
right.
Like you can get way out there,
Mm,
but it's
right.
real. For you to have this
Mhm.
moment in time to nourish your body, it has come through so many avenues, so many people, so many scenarios, so many homes. And when you get into that space of really understanding how blessed you are, even as you are having a moment of stress and breakdown,
Mhm.
for you to have that
Mhm.
meal is huge. And so,
That
yeah.
that is it, and it also, I mean, that translates to how you approach your work. Like if you have a career and you've got the opportunities to advance, there were so many hands that went into establishing the company, setting up the org structure, identifying the different level, like, identifying the profile and creating spaces for learning and development opportunities. Like there are just so many different hands that went into you being in a position to take new career opportunities and excel in those career opportunities. So I think that that aspect of gratitude can quickly translate into how you approach your career as
Oh, you
well.
will be overwhelmed when you think about it, especially now as a business owner who has employees. You don't
Hmm.
realize this until you get into that space. It's not just the check that your employee receives. There's payroll taxes, there's workers' compensation, there's general liability insurance for the business, there's, SEC registration. There's all of these things that have to happen in order for that to take place. And
Mm.
so,
Mhm.
as you mentioned, there are many hands working on your behalf. There are many hands who have put a position together for you to succeed. And so, for the moments that you are in that position, you'd honor it. And when it is
Right.
time to move on from that position, honor yourself by having done the
Mhm.
work to leave gracefully and to
Right.
step into a new space with wonderful energy, with all of the skills, talents, abilities that you have culminated over the years and in that previous position, and be great. Go be great.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. We're coming to a close here, but normally I would ask you, what's one spiritual principle that people could take into the next week to prepare for career advancement? But I think it's
Oh,
gratitude.
yes.
Like,
That one exercise, and just take one thing that's important to you
Right.
that you value in your day and break it all the way down. See how far you can go. It is a rabbit
Mm,
hole of wonder and wonderfulness, and you will feel your whole body transform in that moment, because you know
right.
all of this has happened for you to be in this moment in time. And if you want to take it to a next step, what are the things that you're doing right now that will completely impact someone else's experience?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's our homework, y'all. Like we're gonna be grateful and go down that rabbit hole list of everyone and everything that contributed to where we are today. And then also think about how we are contributing because we're all connected.
Mm-hmm.
We're all connected and we all play a role in impacting someone else's life for the better if we're focused, if we're aware of it. So yeah, absolutely. Well, it has been such a pleasure having you on the show today. How can the audience connect with you and stay up to date on what you're doing?
So I'm on all social platforms, and you can follow my company at Rudy's Girl Media on those platforms. And then my personal brand is Natalie K Hodge. You can find information about me and what I do at nataliehodge.com, about the company at Rudy's Girl Media.
Awesome. Sounds good. Great. Well, thank you all for listening to Working Faith. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. All the show notes, information about Natalie, and the link to submit your own career questions can be found on the website workingfaith.com. Remember to subscribe, rate, and share the show with others. And I'd love to hear your feedback. You can engage with me directly on the Working Faith page on LinkedIn. And thank you all once again for listening. We'll be back next week with more tips on how you can take a spiritual approach to your career success and work your faith. Good day.